All right, so we've let it dry overnight and the stickles and the glossy accents is completely dry. So first step is to cut out the balloons. Nice simple shape. When this stamp set first came out, there was a die set that matched it to cut them out. You may still be able to find it on eBay or whatever, but the company or Sizzix that makes the dies doesn't make that particular set anymore. But fortunately, this is a very easy shape to just cut out by hand. I just go just on the outside of the line from the stamp. Some people like to cut out and leave a little bit of the white halo around it. Entirely up to you what you prefer. Now I'm going to glue these balloons into a little clump, and to give them something to sit on so the back of them is a little bit smoother and can slide on the card a little bit easier, I'm going to take a hole punch. This is a little bit big, but the next size down that I have is really, really tiny, so this one's going to have to do. So I'm going to put my balloons how I would like them to go. And I'm going to cut my shape here a little bit smaller to work with these here. Lay them down, that's not quite enough. And none of this is going to be seen. This part that's in the that's behind the balloons here, it's not going to be seen. So like I said, it doesn't need to be pretty. It's just giving a little bit of a more solid foundation for these balloons to sit on. Actually, before I'm doing that, I want to add my strings to the balloons. So I've got my double-sided tape. I'm just going to add a piece to each of the backs here. There we go. Take those backings off. And then I just have a little bit of a ribbon. It's got, or not ribbon, a little bit of a cord. It's got a bit of a shimmer to it. You could also use just plain gold cord. And I'm actually using more than I really need, because I'm going to tie all three of them in a knot so it looks kind of like a bunch of balloons. And that's also going to give a little bit of an area that it looks like the little bird is holding it under the wing. All right, there we go. Now we'll glue the balloons to that little circle piece. And what this also does is any of that tape that's exposed from holding the ribbon is also going to be glued onto this little circle piece as well. So we're not going to have exposed adhesive behind it. There we go. I want to make sure to cover that little circle completely. So I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to put my acrylic block on top of it. Where did I move that to? I'll just use a tiny one, and then my jar of glass beads, which will weight that down. While that is drying, let's do the card base. So this piece of paper here is 8.5 by 5.5. So it's the size that you would normally cut for a A2 card base, and normally you'd fold it in half. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to score at the 4-inch line and the 8-inch line. So we're kind of creating a tube. This is going to glue to this piece here. So I'm gonna fold along those score lines there. And this score line here should be perfect with the edge of the card there. So my scoreboard can go away. I'm gonna put some of that adhesive tape along. I just put it just shy of the scored line. So the score line is right here. So I just put it just a little bit in. I don't want any of that tape to be exposed. And I'm gonna leave it there for right now. So my image piece, I just wanted to make sure that because it's from yesterday, that I did have it cut down to the right size. I don't want to put some adhesive on it and then end up having to cut it down with adhesive on it. So my image piece is 3 3/4 by 5 1/4, so it's just shy. The finished size of this card is actually 4 inches by 5 1/2 inches, so it's just a little bit narrower than a normal A2 card, and that's because of this 1/2 inch flap here. So I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to just put a little mark in the center here. And the reason for this is because I am going to use this circle punch to create a little bit of a notch. And by marking where that center is, I can make sure that this is closer to the center. So that's what we're going to use for this piece here. You want to have something to grab it to. If there was no notch there, you could put a ribbon and hopefully people knew to pull there, but this kind of just gives you a better indication that that's meant to pull. So now that the front side is done, I'm also going to notch the back. So I did the two separately simply because this front piece has those 2 pieces of cardstock already, and to do 3 pieces of cardstock is a little bit much for most punches. So I didn't want to attempt to be cutting out 3 pieces all at once. So let's see if this is dry. Yeah, it's not dry, but I think it's set enough that we can start working with it. I can see a little bit of my piece behind my balloons there. It would be okay just because it's white and the background of the card is white, but I'm just going to notch it out. And then there's a tiny little bit right here as well. So if by chance your balloons or whatever you're putting on yours, if you choose not to do balloons, has that piece behind it showing, just notch it out. So now I'm going to take all of the cords together and I'm going to knot them so it looks like a bunch of balloons. And then I'm going to take my scissors. So these little bits that you just cut off, they could be saved for a future project. So now I'm going to put my balloons where I want them to go. So when you're putting your slider channel where you want whatever it is that you want to slide, it can be pretty much anywhere on the card. The only thing is you don't want to go past 1 inch from the top or 1 inch from the bottom when you're doing your channel, and you'll understand what I mean by that in a bit. So I'm just going to put this where I want it to go, and then I'm just going to take a pencil mark just to kind of indicate to myself where I want that end to go.